Hello and welcome to Get Ready With Me. Just to talk, I wanted to do a sit down video today because it's Friday of my week of vacation. Film some vlog stuff, but it's been a while since I've done like a sit down type deal. I've been wanting to do that a lot more often. Like I really love doing vlogs, but there's just so many like ideas that I've gotten in my head of sit down things, and I just for some reason keep putting it off. So here we are. My topic for today's discussion is going to be ADHD, and more specifically getting diagnosed later in life, because that was a situation that happened to me and it impacts my everyday life. And it's so crazy how common it is for that to happen for women and girls, but mostly women because they don't get diagnosed when they're girls. So for me, I remember when I was about 21, so I was I think in my third year of university, and I had a friend who was medicated for ADHD, and she was like, I was working with her and she was like taking her medication, and I don't know how we got onto that topic of conversation, but we started talking about how she was diagnosed. She was also not diagnosed until 18 or something. So at least she got diagnosed before she like went to university and stuff, but it was later in life. And she was just talking about like all of the symptoms, it feels weird to call that, but all of the things that led her to believe that, or led her parents to believe that. And I sat there and I was like, And this was also around the time that everybody was kind of on TikTok and on social media talking about, oh my god, I'm so ADHD, and like all these different things about why, like all the little quirks of ADHD, I guess. And I was always very adamant in not taking that too seriously and not like looking too deep into it, because I was like, it's social media, like it's all just, I don't know, I don't want to self-diagnose myself basically. But every single thing that I saw, I was like, oh, I do that, like what the heck. And growing up, I was a very, very anxious child. Like I would have a panic attack in school when I was in elementary school and have to like get them to call my mom and tell them that I was like, I didn't feel well basically, because that's all I could really understand it as, was not feeling well. But it was like I was having panic attacks. I remember the feeling. It was awful. I need to get a brush, hold on. So yeah, given that I had so much anxiety and just the way that I wasn't a very like outgoing child. I was very shy, and I always got really good grades. I was like a straight A student up until junior high, when other things started happening in my life where my mental health was just awful. I skipped school. I think I had like a 50% absence rate. And it didn't get much better through high school, but yeah, I still got good grades. I just like, there was the mental health thing going on, but then there was also the fact that I was so frustrated that I would be able to get my work done in like 20 minutes and we'd be spending an hour and a half class doing that work. So I was just like, there's no point in me being here. And that's especially the case for high school. Obviously junior high was a little bit different in that regard, but still I was like, well, if I can do this at home in 20 minutes and then get to do whatever the fuck else I want, I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit around, wait for other people to finish. Anyways, so like those kind of red flag things that should have been there weren't there. Like I got really good grades, I wasn't disruptive, I was quiet. That was about it. Yeah, I feel like that's the most prominent thing for me was school, and the frustration with that, and not being able to like, it's hard to articulate because since I was diagnosed so late, why is this going out of focus? Because since I was diagnosed so late, it was like I had to go back and think about things like, oh, so maybe that's what that was, or like that makes sense now, and like connecting those dots. But it really like just got worse as time went on, and I think I like heard somebody say or read somewhere, I look a little bit crazy right now. I thought I had gotten a shade darker of this concealer, but this was actually just because I buy a shade darker of concealer to do like when I'm doing like light makeup, and then I do the lighter shade of concealer when I'm doing a foundation underneath. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to, anyways. So the thing that I heard was that as you get older, there's more of a disparity in like the expectations of how you should like think and behave and like those kinds of things versus where you're at. So like as you get older, your expectations are higher of, you know, your executive functioning and all of those things. But as a child, it's not as big of a difference, if that makes sense, how you're acting versus how you're expected to act. As you get older, there's more expected of you, so that difference is a lot more noticeable. Anyways, I heard that and I was like, damn. That makes a lot of sense as to why maybe I didn't get diagnosed as earlier on. But in university, it was the same kind of thing. I was just like skipping class. If attendance wasn't mandatory, I was not at class. I would do my work at home. I would just not be able to function in a lecture setting. And then COVID came around, and this was kind of like the Kickstarter trigger of like, okay, I need to like see somebody, because we were required to do online learning in our own home and sit there and watch a lecture. Like, we weren't in a classroom where it was like, okay, we actually need to pay attention and listen and there's people around me and like the setting helps, but it's at home where you have all these distractions and you're still expected to sit down and look at a screen and listen to somebody who doesn't know how to fucking work Zoom. Like, it was just so eye-opening because I could not listen unless I was doing other things. Like, I needed to be doing other things at the same time. There's also, I feel like I'm not capturing my experience of ADHD very well. This is just kind of the story of like how I got to be diagnosed later on in life. So after a while, I was like, you know, I do like have a very hard time keeping hobbies or keeping interest in things. Like, I will start a new hobby every 2 weeks and then forget about it. Or I have a really bad habit of losing things because if I don't see it, it doesn't exist to me. Being a little bit like, it's not that I'm disorganized. I'm very organized, but everything needs a place. If it doesn't have a place, I will likely never find it again. Side note, look at my cute little butterfly straw that I just got. It's so cute. Yeah, so university was a struggle. Anyways, I ended up getting diagnosed that year, I think, in 2021. So I would have been like 22, 23 maybe. It was like this eye-opening experience and like validation, all of the things that I dealt with my entire life and just thought it was normal to struggle with, or just thought like attributed it some certain way where I was like, it's whatever, like that's just me, like I just have to deal with that. The fact that I really wish it had been caught on to. Like, I really wish I had been diagnosed earlier and had those resources to handle it, because I feel like a lot of my like anxiety and social anxiety growing up had a lot to do and was connected to the ADHD. I don't know, it's a little bit frustrating. So I guess I'll like talk about how it directly impacts me. And I actually have a list of these things, because how my brain functions, I can't think straight, and when I'm like telling a story, I'm jumping all over the place, I'm going in all directions, I'm forgetting pieces. So I did write it down so that I could like talk to the therapist or talk to whoever I'm trying to prove to that I have ADHD when I was getting diagnosed. So I'm gonna get that because I have it in my diary. Okay, one thing that I noted here was that I did not stick to a sport or a hobby as a child, which is true. I tried gymnastics, piano, dance, softball, but there were always like reasons or excuses that I could drop out and be done with it. I guess that's something from my childhood. Feeling like I have too much energy to sit down and watch TV shows, which is like extremely relevant now, but it's not just that I don't feel like I can sit down and watch them for a long enough period of time. That's also true, but I think a huge thing for me is I have a hard time with new things. I don't like watching movies that I am not familiar with. Like, I've heard about and seen trailers and like I'm really familiar with it and it has actors that I know. Same with shows. I rewatch everything. I every single night watch Criminal Minds like nobody's business. I don't watch any new shows. If it's new episodes, I'm watching it from an older show. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not picking up new shows. People are always asking me, have you seen this on Netflix? Or like, no, I assume that I have not seen it and I probably will not watch it, even though I probably would like it. I just can't. I need the familiarity in those things. Yes, I don't really like to sit down and watch things, and that's one thing that has like caused a lot of, I guess, not trouble in a relationship, but with me and Josh, it's very different in that way. All he wants to do at the end of the day is watch TV. It's the last possible thing that I could think of as being fun. I want to be up and I want to be doing things, and I want to, I don't know, just not be sitting there watching TV. So that's a bit of a struggle. There's also like the social aspect of making conversation with people and understanding when it's your turn to talk, or even if I understand that somebody else is talking and I shouldn't say anything, sometimes I can't help myself. Like sometimes I do interrupt because something just came in my brain and I'm gonna forget it. And that's another huge issue that I have, is memory. Just, I have a fucking awful memory. I don't remember anything. I remember anything in school was simply memorizing it for the test, and then the information left me. It's almost as if there's too many things going on in my brain for those things to be important enough to remember. It's too full already. So it's expelling that stuff because it doesn't seem super important. So that's a really big issue that I've always had. Terrible memory. Just in general, short term, long term, like any sort of thing that I'm supposed to remember. If somebody said, oh, can you remember to tell me this? Nope, will not. I'll try, but I won't be able to. Another thing that I noted in here was that I was always, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 times that I can remember, surprising that I can remember it, period, but that I didn't finish an exam or like first in university. I remember always being the first one. Like I would zoom through it, because if I didn't, it wouldn't be coming to me. Like I needed to get it all out of my brain onto the paper and expel it, and it's just like, here you go. And I remember doing that once. This is like not really related, but I just want to like show off, I guess. I think it was for a class called Mind and Brain in psychology, and it was completely multiple choice, which is what I do the worst on, actually. I have a really hard time with that. With anything that I can like explain my answers, I generally do really well in, but with multiple choice, not so much. Anyways, I did this multiple choice thing in like 20 minutes. I was the first one to finish in this huge lecture hall, passed it in. For weeks leading up to like getting the grade back, I was so paranoid. I was like, oh my God, I definitely did so awful on that. I get my grade back and I got 100%. 100% on a university exam. So that was crazy. But like I couldn't, if I didn't know it in the moment, I'm not gonna know it. And like I just had to zip through it. And one thing that I will say is like I won't remember a whole lot from anything unless it's hands-on in some way. I need like multiple stimuli. If I'm just listening to you talk or I'm like writing things down, I'm not gonna retain any of that information, especially in school. And then I think one of the biggest issues, the one that impacts me the most, is overstimulation. One of my biggest triggers with overstimulation is touch and heat, like body temperature. If I feel too hot, immediately I'm going from a 0 to a 7. If I drop something, if I stub my toe, game over. I am gonzo for the rest of the day. It's like, it's ridiculous. And I'm aware of how silly and trivial it sounds, but it does not. It feels like just my body is having its own thing go on. So like, and then with touch, like if, I don't know, Seren, maybe she's having a super needy day, but she's like pulling and pinching and doing all of those things, that makes me freak out just a little bit. And it's really hard because when you have a child, you don't want to tell them that like I need some space, and it's a really hard thing to do. Like I just want to cry thinking about it, because I'm like, I don't want space from you. I really don't, but my body does. Like I don't know. It's really sad sometimes when I just feel like, and it's never when she's upset or sick or like something like that. I'm always there for her, but it's when she's like really hyper and bouncing all over me and all those things, and she obviously doesn't understand. But yeah, there's a lot of things, like it's really frustrating when you are aware that you have something going on in your brain, but there's not much you can do about it. Like, yes, I can be medicated, and I have been before, but it's really not for me. I've tried 2 different medications and they just make me feel crazy. Like, that's all I can really describe it as. They make me feel crazy, and then the side effects also of not having an appetite, not good for somebody who has a history with an eating disorder. I decided that it just it wasn't the best avenue for me and I would have to figure it out without medications. I think I'm doing pretty good, honestly. I think the biggest thing for me has been finding these things that I love. Like videos is the one hobby that I have not gotten bored of. I have not let go. I love learning new things, and this is one of the things that I have actually stuck with. I just love it so much. I'm so appreciative of it because it's like a journal but in a video form, and I can go back and look on it, and it's so wonderful to watch those memories. This is gonna be such a, like, the content of the video is not gonna be as telling of my ADHD as how disorganized the video actually appears to be, because my thoughts are not lining up right now. Okay, I need to pick out an outfit. So am I forgetting? I feel like when I'm talking while I'm doing like a get ready with me, I forget steps in my routine. So I'm gonna be editing this and be like, you dumb bitch. Also, I didn't put on sunscreen today because it's cloudy and dreary and sad outside. So I will not be spending any time out there. What do I want to wear? Welcome to my crazy lighting because my ring light fell down on the floor, and that's it. I'm going to visit my parents today, so I'm not doing anything too crazy, and it's pretty chilly outside, so I feel like this is a nice in-between for the temperature. What do I do with my hair? I hate my hair, dude. Look at this. Like, who in their right mind said that's a face framing layer? Like, no, you cut a gross chunk out of my hair, and now I don't want to do that thing because I want it to grow out, but maybe I should. It looks so stupid and it makes me mad. I can't do my braids the same anymore because they all just like fly away. Anyways, that's just a brief summary of my ADHD diagnosis process and the things that affect me with it, which I feel like I really didn't even skim the surface on it. Like, there's obviously a lot of different things, but there's also a lot of the things that I have an issue with are more predominantly problem areas with a different diagnosis, and I don't want to self-diagnose, and I can't afford to be assessed for that. So we're gonna leave it as ADHD and just say that all of the issues that I have with that are just from ADHD. We're pretty confident that there's something else going on. I feel like there was more that I wanted to talk about on it, because this is like, I want this video to reach somebody that is feeling alone in this kind of process, and also maybe you've just been diagnosed and you're an adult and you're like, well, what now? Like, how do I like reconcile with knowing all of these issues happened in my childhood, or all the like whatever I dealt with could have been not solved but helped if I had just been diagnosed with this, or you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, it was something that I had struggled with a little bit once I was diagnosed, but once I kind of moved past that, it was all about, okay, figuring out what works for you. And what works for me is this. It's learning, constantly doing new things. Not necessarily new things, but like building on my existing knowledge. So that's why this outlet has been so important for me, and learning how to make videos and learning how to do social media and learning how to do TikTok and all these different things. It's like constantly consuming my mind. My mind does not stop. And books and reading books. Holy crap. Speaking of books, this is what I'm currently reading. I really want to finish it today. I said that for the past 3 days. I started 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and every single day I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this all in one day, or okay, I'm gonna read the whole rest of this. But hopefully that's actually true, because there's less than 100 pages left, so kind of weird, kind of interesting. I think that's it. I don't really know how to end this video. It's a little bit weirder. I hope that the lighting and the focus has been good this whole time, because I can't really tell. And I'm using my old Canon camera, and I really need to fix the settings on it because it's a little funky dunky. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and bye.